Hi, welcome. I just wanted to show you a quick little presentation I did for the LavaCon conference, which took place in Portland just a few days ago. And I thought it would be beneficial to share that presentation I did on last minute notice that was about content and management and strategy. And what I wanted to talk about was that there has to be a better way. So let's quickly show you what I presented about, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I would love to have a dialogue with you. So what I was trying to impress upon people is that you got to look at things in slightly different ways. You have to take an outside approach, and what I mean by that is that you sometimes are stuck in a rut, or there's preconceived notions about how you should think about things or how things have always been done, and I argue that disruption is good. Thinking about things in brand new ways, bringing new people or new perspectives is going to make a huge difference. So let me tell you my story. If you take any sort of ingredients, basic ingredients like milk and in this case salt, you can end up with a very particular product. You can even make variations of that same product, but you don't really, in this sense, it's still cheese. If you don't do really anything different, you just kind of slice it up and show the same thing. Now, when I took my project management training about 12, 13 years ago, it was so incredibly boring. The person lectured at us for a good 10 hours or more every single day for 4 days straight. No visuals, just flat out talking to us. And it was horrible. And as a visual learner, I was having a very difficult time trying to pay attention and learn. So what I was doing is I was drawing pictures and I was making sketches and I was making my own visuals, trying to make connections, trying to make a different perspective on things. But I think that actually helped me because I then looked at it in a brand new way. So there are some trainings out there that I've seen that are actually taking what is not always working in the classroom, like lecturing or talking at people, and they're moving it online. Some of the project management courses I've seen is where they have a computer reading their slides, or they are reading their slides, or they might even be reading their slides with a video of themselves. But it's still just them reading, and maybe they argue that you can't read yourself. My argument here is that what happens is they're taking what didn't work or something that's not as completely effective in a classroom and putting it online. And why it doesn't work online is that people are still talking at you. And if you are sitting there watching something for 40 minutes, how much do you really retain? If it's just coming at you in one sort of way, it's very passive. And I don't feel that passivity in terms of learning is very good. There's no way to talk to an instructor like you would in a classroom. And there's really no way for you to move around. And if you miss something, you zone off, you do anything, you are moving backwards and forwards and trying to find that spot. It's really, the onus is on you to try to do something active and make the learning stick. So I looked at this in a completely different way, and I said there's got to be a different way. There's got to be something better to be able to take project management learning and put it online and still have it be effective and not just something boring. So Steve Jobs, I thought, had great ideas. Now, I'm a big Microsoft person, but I highly agree with what he had to say. Is one of his inspirations I've read is that when he was in college, he took a calligraphy course and he started to understand the flow. And what I've read too is that they at Apple, they hire a lot of poets and philosophers and designers to help you think differently, help you see things in a new perspective, so you don't run into the same way that it's always be done. And it's the preconceived notions that project management training, for instance, always has to be a particular one way. So actually, I'm reading this other book right now called The Runaway Species, and it actually works out quite nicely to what I talked about on Monday, because this is arguing that if you don't disrupt things, if you don't bend the current way of thinking or blend it with new ideas or just completely break it, that's where creativity comes from. Because in project management, I noticed that it was the expectation. It's got to be very uptight, very business-like, very didactical. Somebody's got to tell you things. They got to dump the knowledge on you, and I feel is lost in something. But there are creative people out there like myself who think that you can do this in a different way, because I come from a totally different standpoint, a different perspective. And because of that, I can bring in new perspectives that weren't there before, and I can disrupt or break things, or even just bend it into a new way of thinking. Because I like this quote by Mark Twain. Now, it's probably not verbatim, but what he was arguing is that history doesn't repeat itself because everything really has existed. At most, it rhymes, because we are recreating it in new ways that's a little bit different. It's not going to be the exact same as it was, because we make it our own, or we add new spices to it, or new perspectives, or new designs. And that's what I argue is that you need to do when you think about what you are working on. Bring somebody from the outside, bring them from some completely different perspective that you don't have within your team or your organization. Let them see it from a new way. Have them interject with new ideas and brand new, maybe things that you haven't even noticed because it's right in front of you and it just hasn't been called out until somebody points out the obvious, or completely sees it in a new way that no matter how long you and your colleagues would have been doing it, would have never seen it in a different experience, in different light. So with the project management, I looked at it this way. There's the project management content, which still exists, and then there's different ways to salt it and put it together, and that's the instructional design, which that's where I also come from, is in the design and the way that instruction is best suited. But also, I felt that I have this little bit of sugar, this little bit of extra that I can add to it and see it from a whole new way, very visual, very enlightening. And so I then can make something different. And I think that's where you can do the same, is that if you bring it from a new way, you can bring new things. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to make something that's very active, very visual, where passivity is gone, that you are the one that's clicking things through, that you are moving around, you are repeating, you are moving and collecting, and things are very short and concise, that you are not having to listen to a 40-minute video about a lesson. It's all short, a few minutes each, and the idea is that you can get what you need and find it quickly. I use a lot of conversations and graphics and whiteboarding and animations, because I don't feel that it has to be cheesy, clip art, and clip those photo stock images of business people standing around looking over a project plan. I feel that there's nothing wrong with a little bit of art and color and design that is going to make it interactive. So I want you to click things and mark things, and you control it. You set the pace. If you want to repeat something in, or if you want to skip something because you think you know it, then go ahead. But I want you to navigate your map. I want you to navigate your learning. And I think that's going to make a huge difference. And also, there's nothing wrong with having fun when you do it. It's going to actually make it stick more, because if you reinforce it, you spiral it back, you revisit the content, and you have fun with it. Even if you repeat it in multiple different ways, whether it's auditory or all the learning perspectives and styles that I'm sure you might be familiar with, games are part of that. And the games are fun, but they're also a learning, and they're going to make things better for you. And that's where I think if you change your perspective, and I love this image because this is actually a painting on a wall. Actually, it's all a painting. That's not a real person there. That's not a real slab of concrete that's sitting on the side. It's actually just painted on there because it forces people to think in a brand new way, and that's what I argue for you. So I have a Kickstarter for this project. I hope you support it to get it going, get it rolling, and January 2018 I am going to have this on thecrowdtraining.com. But until then, if you want to get in early, it's $99 for supporting the project. When it goes live, it's probably going to be about $720. But I want to help encourage people seeing things different, hopefully get in on the ground floor. And thank you so much for your time, and rock on.